The poll on the Twitch side seems to be very heavily, and you guys think I should watch this first. Okay, I'll watch it first. If it ends up being really long and it's a lot of stuff that we already know, I might just skip it and just hop right into playing. But it also gives time for people to come in a little bit. So I'll watch a little bit of it. People said that this is like the original that started the movement for people coming back to Battlefront, and then we'll go from there, okay? I feel like we've already watched a couple videos, so we have a decent idea, but people said that there's stuff in this one that I would be really helpful to know before we play it. So let's watch a little bit really quick. Maybe we'll watch the whole thing, maybe we won't, because I do want to get in and play soon, but let's go.
Battlefront 2 is one of the most interesting games of all time. Not only is it a poster child of video game controversies that changed the industry as we know it, but it's also a poster child for video game comebacks. DICE's Battlefront 2 released in November of 2017, and it's a game with one of the most insane stories a video game has ever had. It went from being one of the most...
Wait, I hadn't seen that map yet. That was cool.
...to being one of the biggest disasters in history, with players outright leaving the game in their wake due to its abysmal launch riddled with pay-to-win controversy.
I can already tell there's little mechanics. I'm gonna be like, what the hell does that do?
Over the course of multiple years, and ended up being a game that people absolutely loved. So much so they even petitioned for its return after its live service was abruptly cut off. Featuring in-depth multiplayer and a short campaign, Battlefront 2 is still active to this day despite being abandoned by EA and DICE over 4.
And this video is 9 months old. Do you think 9 months ago when they made this video, they expected what would happen?
Ago. And when I created this channel, I knew that one day I would dive into this game and revisit its controversy, its redemption, and all things in between. And just see where Battlefront 2 is today in 2024. We'll take a look at the controversy, the redemption, the multiplayer, and the campaign as we take a trip down memory lane as we revisit the notorious Star Wars Battlefront 2. But just before we do, today we have partnered with NordVPN.
Okay, W sponsor. I'm gonna keep going though. Got on the Epic Store years ago for free. Feel lucky now? Yeah, I ended up having to buy it last night. I'm gonna be honest.
The name has been a massive deal for Star Wars fans since the mid-2000s with the release of the original...
Oh, for those who've asked me if I've ever played Battlefront before, I have technically, yes. The first one.
Battlefront.
Like the old Battlefront 2. This one, right here. I played this one. Wait, actually, maybe it was this one. I feel like this one makes more sense. I think I played the one on the left.
Front 2.
Wait, I don't think I played the one on the right.
Games are iconic in every sense of the word. So in 2015,
it was a PlayStation 2 game.
Battlefront launched coming from Swedish developers DICE, most notably
to give you an idea.
Battlefield franchise. People were hyped. Battlefront was back, and The Force Awakens was coming out in theaters around that time, and Star Wars fever was just everywhere. But DICE's first attempt in the Battlefront franchise was lackluster.
And PSP. Holy shit, I forgot about PSPs.
The game was severely lacking in content. And the only way you'd get more is if you'd pay for the 4 DLCs, which would drop in the years following. There was also no campaign to speak of, which was a notable omission considering the original Battlefront 2 campaign was beloved by many. But out of nowhere, a news came out that
I remember
DICE
the campaign.
were working on a sequel, and that sequel was Battlefront 2, which would launch in November of 2017. Now, one of the biggest complaints about DICE's first Battlefront was its lack of content, with only the original trilogy in the game with no prequel content unlike the original games. But Battlefront 2
what the hell is that thing? It looks like a fucking
featuring content from all 3
flying
eras.
penny.
It looked like Battlefront 2 was going to be the one. The ultimate Battlefront game, delivering all eras of Star Wars, more content than we knew what to do with, and a fully fledged campaign.
Oh no.
And to be fair, it kind of did deliver on that front, but there was one big problem. Battlefront 2, as I'm sure most of you know,
this is all gone now, by the way, right?
The center of pay-to-win controversy for the industry. With
no. I have watched Star Wars, Chompy. I just recently got into it this month, though. So I've only seen the first 3 movies canonically. So like in story order, the first 3 movies.
Questions being asked over the ethics of microtransactions in video games. It got so big and so bad to the point where governments got involved. It was truly a shit show in every sense of the word.
There's 0 microtransactions now? Really?
Up with pay to win in mind. It would take players 40 hours to organically unlock Luke Skywalker and Darth Vader.
I remember all these articles.
The entire progression system was designed in a way where the person with the biggest wallet simply dominated the lobby.
Well, hang on, chat. What was it again? The famous Reddit post is like, we wanted to give them a sense of accomplishment for spending their money or something like that.
It was clear that this just couldn't stand. And in order to save face, DICE got to work and rebuilt the progression system over the next 6 months. And around the midway point of 2018,
A pride and
Battlefront 2
achievement.
started to show signs of redeeming itself. Following alongside the movies,
I think it's the most
solo
downvoted
DLC
comment in
dropped,
Reddit
which brought
history,
new
yeah.
maps, skins, weapons, and more into the game. And the following months would help Battlefront 2 slowly build up.
Hang on, chat. I'm a little confused. Why is some of it in third person? Why is some of it in first person? I thought this was a third person game. There's sometimes first person. Can you just swap between them?
To becoming a game that was
You can switch? Is it like a hotkey, or do you have to go in the menus? It's a hotkey? Wait, that's fire. That's fire. I want. Oh, dude, that sounds gas.
Launch counterpart. New game modes were added. The game was
not
just
heroes
generally
though.
Getting
Oh,
bigger
okay,
and
that
bigger.
makes sense.
But then
Well, the heroes have like lightsabers too, right? Like how the would first-person lightsaber look? It probably wouldn't be great.
Massive announcement came for the game. They would be diving into the Clone Wars, bringing heroes such as Obi-Wan Kenobi, Anakin Skywalker, General Grievous, and Count Dooku to
I have
the
alerts
game.
off. Sorry.
Alongside them would feature
Sorry.
massive
I have
new
alerts off
maps
for a
on
little bit
planets
just so we can
like
get through this.
Geonosis, and
I don't
even
want TTS cutting in
Felucia
over the
was added
video.
later on. This was the moment that really got Battlefront 2 off the canvas and allowed it to evolve into the game that it would become.
Dude, I feel like I've already learned so many things just from seeing the visuals of this video. Like the other video was really good too, but there's like
For a Battlefront game,
so many
is
different characters,
undeniably
so many
the
vehicles
Clone
that I
Wars,
never even
and
saw.
Through a series of updates, the game started to resemble what it should have always been. Massive online battles where you could play as some of your favorite heroes and villains, even pulling obscure content out of deeper Star Wars.
Dude, I'm gonna
lore
get
for
farmed
players to
today.
enjoy on a grand scale. Battlefront 2 was truly evolving into something that was genuinely special. It was clear that DICE had really figured out for themselves what players wanted out of this franchise.
I'm kind of down
And
though.
leading into the release of The Rise of Skywalker in 2019, Battlefront 2 would become more popular than it had ever been away from its launch controversy.
I just want to be a
Celebration
bot.
edition of the game was released, sort
Just
of
a random
symbolizing
clone.
the game that Battlefront 2 had now become with the controversies in the past, and it seemed to work. Battlefront 2 was absolutely thriving, and then a major update dropped for The Rise of Skywalker, adding new maps, reinforcements, skins, and even heroes. It became clear that Battlefront 2 by this point had truly redeemed itself.
There's
That
red
disastrous
clones?
launch controversy was a thing of the past.
The fuck?
The
Are
game
they
in
supposed
front
to be
of
special
people
clones?
at this time simply just was not that game anymore. 2 years on from its launch, Battlefront 2 was the game that it should have always been. But the most exciting thing
Gotta wait till
was
movie
players
6?
and developers
Okay.
assumed that this would now be the launch pad of the game's next chapter. It was time for Battlefront 2 to go to that next level, to soar to new heights. And
Oh, so
become
when the game came out, it didn't have those 3 eras. It was only the first one,
Battlefront
and then the
and
second one
all
came later, and the third one
Battlefronts.
came later.
But then it all changed. Going into 2020, updates were slow. Players were confused. The game had just seen a massive peak. Word of mouth surrounding the game was good again, but things were slow. Some players even started to get worried that EA might be pulling the plug on the game. But most people just scoffed at that idea, as that would just be ridiculous. To endure through
No.
a massive redemption arc, to hit its peak, have more players than ever, and then
Always
to
keep that kind
abandon
of stuff
it
in mind.
would
What
just
the
be
fuck is that?
Except that is
Wait, what?
exactly what happened. Not long after COVID
Wait, that was
took over in
Grievous.
April 2020,
Wait, he
DICE
can run like
released
the
a trailer
fucking
for what they
like
labeled
someone
their
who's
final update.
possessed. You know, like
EA had officially pulled the plug on Battlefront 2 in its prime, which left this newfound player
Good lord,
base
you're
of the
gonna make a
game
lot of
sitting there
people angry
wondering
today
what
with the
they
lack of
just
lore knowledge. That is the best part. Enjoy the cinema.
into. December 2019
Sit back
saw
and
the
laugh.
biggest
It's
player
going to be
jump
the
for
best part of
Battlefront
it.
2 yet, and then a few months
It's gonna be
later,
very
EA
funny.
killed the game in
Fuck
favor
'em.
of shifting DICE's developers over to Battlefield 2042, which everybody said was a terrible decision back then, and that only became true once the game came out and ended up being a complete disaster. Battlefront 2 died, so Battlefield 2042 could be a disaster. It is a tragedy in every sense of the word. But Battlefront 2's players weren't going to let it go that easy. Everybody saw this decision as a complete and utter throw from EA. Even developers were understandably devastated, to the point where many of Battlefront 2's developers straight up left DICE after this happened. Some of those developers even came out and said that they had plans for heroes like Ahsoka Tano and Asajj Ventress, and also they were planning to add planets like Mustafar to the game. Which, you know, definitely didn't rub salt into the wounds at all. You know, this is fine.
I don't
So
understand
given
any of
the
that reference,
ludicrousy of
but
the situation, fans petitioned to reinstate the game's live service, which did pass 100,000 signatures. That petition would later evolve into a Battlefront 3 petition when people finally accepted that this game was truly done for. Star Wars fans were in denial over this game's cancellation for a long time because it was just such a stupid decision. Reliable industry insiders then made it known that DICE did pitch a Battlefront 3.
So chat, really quick question. I mean this, I genuinely just am curious. So I was looking at like all-time players of this game the other day, because like it actually just hit its all-time peak, right? Like yesterday, which is fucking sick. But obviously this game's been out since 2017. So what is the all-time peak like beyond this? Does anyone know what it was like back here? Oh, it wasn't on Steam. Oh, if it's not, it wasn't on Steam. Okay, all right, that's different. Wait, so what was it on before? Oh my God, EA Access. Holy fuck, I forgot about EA Launcher. Come here for a sec. If your name is not Activision Blizzard, why the fuck, or Epic Games, why the fuck do you have your own launcher? Nobody wants to use that shit. Nobody, and I mean fucking nobody, wants to use that shit. Rockstar? Nope. EA? Nope. Ubisoft? Oh fucking megalol. Why do they all fucking fight against Steam? Money? I know it's money, but like, Chad, have you ever worked corporate? Most fucking executives are not as smart as you think they are, right? Like you're like, oh, they're an executive, they make millions a year, they must be pretty smart. No, they're dumb as fuck, right? What would you rather do? Would you rather make $2 million extra from your own platform because you force everyone onto it? Or would you make $10 million extra because it can reach a bunch more fucking people? Are you fucking stupid? It's like, yeah, well, we lose 10% because we have to pay Steam. Okay, so you lose, what? How much? How much is that? How much did you lose? Come on, what's the math? And it's like, dude, it's actually unbelievable. It is the stupidest fucking shit. If a game is only on Origin, I don't want to play it at this point. I begrudgingly will do Epic Games. And I've played Overwatch on Battle.net for so long, I'm okay with it. WoW is there too, so I'm okay with it, right? But everything else is on Steam. If it's not on Steam, I don't want it.
To EA. But EA, in all of their wisdom, said no because they didn't want to...
No, I know the answer is they want extra profit, but like it really isn't extra profit. It's legitimately less.
Cough up the 20% licensing fee to Lucasfilm, despite the fact the game would have made them way more money than any of their Battlefield titles to more than make
it's
up.
Like, it's legitimate dumbass greed. Because it's like, we'll make 10% more if we force them onto our own platform because we don't have to pay a licensing fee to another platform. Great, we made an extra 10% on 2 million when we could have lost 10% on 10 million or 20 million. How much more do you bring in at that point? Oh,
for that 20%. But EA weren't exactly in the business of good decision making around this time, to put it lightly. So Battlefront 2 was truly over, and the franchise still...
Doesn't Battlefront 2 make you launch through the EA app still? I haven't launched the game yet. If it launches through the EA app, I'm gonna fucking crash out.
Received any hope for another game, which means that there are still a lot of people playing Battlefront 2 to this day. So without question, the star of Battlefront 2...
Dude, Steam doesn't take 10%. Why the fuck are you why are you stuck up on the numbers I used? I pulled out magic numbers for the other ones. We talked about magic number of 2 and a magic number of 10. Why is the 10 supposed to be accuracy? The 10% supposed to be accurate. Oh my Jesus fucking Christ.
This is what everyone plays these games for. As it stands 4 years on from the game's cancellation, nobody seems to have caught on how popular a new multiplayer Star Wars game could be, despite the fact both Battlefront games sold extremely well despite having bad launches. Therefore, players are still playing this long-abandoned game in 2024. Now, I hadn't really put any substantial time into Battlefront 2 for a couple of years until this video, so I was interested to jump back
the Heroes mode
and see where things are at. And I've got to say, it's definitely a mixed bag. But what I was surprised by was just how much is here. I kind of forgot how much content Battlefront 2 had.
Holy that's a lot.
Why this game was doing so well at its peak. The game features over 22 playable heroes and villains, 12 hero and villain ships, literally dozens upon dozens of playable reinforcements, everything from droidicas to Wookiees to ATSTs. I don't think I can really stress how many playable reinforcements there are in this game. The variety is insane. Depending on which era you're playing or what map dictates what reinforcements you can choose from. the prequel, original.
Wait,
and
is it like
sequel era
you have to
all
like work up
strong
points
spreads
for
of
it, like in game?
reinforcements, and
How's that
they're
work?
Still a lot of fun to play. But let's highlight the heroes. As stated, the game features 22 heroes and villains from.
I feel like we're
all
never
eras
gonna
of
get a
Star
hero
Wars.
today.
When it comes to Battlefront, the heroes are what helps separate the game from the likes of other shooters like Battlefield.
Wait, is that
And the
actual?
heroes are
Wait, you have
handled
Yoda? Wait a minute,
incredibly
isn't
well
that
in this
kind of
game.
OP?
They're
Like your hitbox is
powerful and in the
tiny.
right hands, you can absolutely dominate with them. But they're not powerful enough that you can just mindlessly dominate a lobby without actually thinking about your engagements first and having a little bit of skill. DICE struck a really good balance of making heroes and villains powerful, but not invincible. Now, these heroes are still a lot of fun to play. The blaster heroes are obviously the ones that people don't tend to go for as much, as we all want to play with the lightsaber heroes.
Yeah.
And this is where Battlefront 2 shines, running around as Darth Maul with Duel of the Fates playing in the background as you run headfirst into a Clone Wars battle.
Yeah, not having the music today is definitely going to be a bit of a bummer, but I don't want to lose all my content for the day.
Specific maps with these heroes, with the music, the voice lines.
I will just sing it for you. All right, I'll do a voiceover. I got you.
2 right here. Throwing yourself into these massive battles with these iconic characters and just losing yourself in the immersive nature the game provides. Now, the hero versus hero gameplay isn't anything overly impressive. With such a wide range of abilities, it can make for some cool encounters, but there's a lot of teleporting and dodgy hit registration going on that can make the game pretty frustrating. Granted, some of that is down to ping issues, as if you live anywhere that isn't in the US or Germany, you're probably going to have to hop to different servers across the world. Of course, if you go on the servers in 2024, you're probably going to come across max level sweatlords who haven't stopped playing since launch, so be prepared for that.
That's going to be me today.
PC,
That's my POV.
Hackers are all over the place, but I didn't come across any in my playtime for this
Really?
video. But when things are working as intended, Battlefront 2...
So, okay, that's why I've been pretty optimistic going into this about the cheater thing, because sometimes that narrative can get blown out of proportion quickly. It happened in Rivals at the launch. It's happened in Overwatch in the past and other games I've played where like there's a certain period of time where before they do a ban wave where there's a lot of cheaters and people are like, there's cheaters every game. And it's like more like once every 20.
Each of them,
unless you're playing really high ranked, then it might be like once every 10 because it's like the same people.
Obviously, they only really scratched the surface, and there was potential for so much more. But the modding community has.
So that's my hope. That's my cope.
Community that has kept the game alive for a while.
Oh, it really is mods. Oh, so that's the way that guy asked me earlier if I have any mods, and I was like, what?
I could not get mods working because the EA launcher for this game on PC is complete dog water.
Oh no, they really are. I really am gonna have to use the EA launcher. God fucking damn it.
Assault, heroes versus villains, hero showdown.
Bro, I'm so sick of these fucking launchers.
Extraction, Ewok Hunt, Starfighter Assault, Hero Starfighters co-op, and instant action. Now, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. Playing on PC, I spent a lot of time in the menus across various servers around the world trying to find games in some of the smaller game modes.
Oh no.
The player base
we won't have that problem today, right?
In a handful of modes and kind of left the rest to die. To the point where I only found one Starfighter game mode across 2 weeks of searching across various servers at different times.
Today it'll be fine, surely.
On PC, on console, your experience may vary. But from what I can gather, the Starfighter modes are basically dead overall. It's a shame because the Starfighter modes in Battlefront 2, I think were massively underrated. Now, the main game modes you can actually expect to find full lobbies of in 2024
it's almost volume max.
Supremacy, Galactic Assault, and Heroes vs. Villains. These are the main three that summarize the Battlefront 2 experience today, and to be fair, they are probably the three best modes, so this isn't really a bad thing. Supremacy was DICE's attempt at recapturing the magic of the iconic
the big one's Supremacy, right? Or is that Conquest?
Battlefront games, which it certainly doesn't, but it's still a really good mode that I would recommend sticking to the Clone Wars for. It's the best big battle Clone Wars style game mode you'll get in this game specifically, and it's not hard to find games. You start on a ground phase, you capture control areas, and then progress to another phase on a capital ship to infiltrate and take it down or defend it. This is a great mode that definitely has you feeling like
you know what I keep hearing in my head? You hear the for the Republic,
the heroes and reinforcements are
like I've seen so many of them the last week.
So
they won't get off my fucking feed
on Camino or anything like that. It's definitely a more purist and immersive experience. Galactic Assault is kind of the opposite. It's basically the everything goes large-scale mode.
Oh, wait, that looks cool.
All heroes can be chosen despite the map you're on. And this was the flagship mode of Battlefront 2 at launch. There's also Heroes versus
Wait, I
Villains,
want to try that too. All right, we have two things we want to try today for sure.
For hero and villain battle, and it's probably my favorite mode of the entire game, to be honest.
I feel like I shouldn't do that. I feel like I'm gonna get shit stomped.
Heroes just duke it out, and there are some great voice line interactions between characters.
I'm gonna get clip farmed
smaller game
if I do that one.
You can sometimes find games of Hero Showdown because it does have a low amount of required players. But this is where you'll more than likely run into sweat lords who have not stopped playing since the start of the game. Co-op is technically online as you have online teammates, but these are mainly bot lobbies. Granted, they are still fun. I also did manage to find a game of Blast and Strike, but the lobbies were nowhere near full, so it was kind of a waste of time. Ewok Hunt, same deal. It's fun, it's goofy, but it's pretty dead.
Flats is gearing up for his first 3-hour Supremacy match. I hope it is. I hope my first game is 3 fucking hours. I will be so in.
Value here too. I certainly did. But let's shift to one of the highlights of Battlefront 2, the maps. The maps in this
Ewok
game
Hunt is not dead. This is a year-old video, so you got to give it a little bit of leeway because things have changed in the last couple months.
This game came out in 2017, and I still think the visuals on these maps not only hold up, but are still impressive by today's standards. Now, it's hard to say exactly how many maps are specifically in the game, as depending on the game mode, some
give it a little bit of leeway.
Exclusive to those, and others are smaller areas isolated from larger maps in other modes, so it's a bit of a mess.
Does it have slide mechanics? I feel like this game would be perfect for a slide mechanic, but I understand not having it. It'd probably be like Omega Sweaty.
Kashyyyk, Naboo, Geonosis, and Felucia. From the original trilogy, you have Hoth, Yavin 4, Tatooine, Endor, Death Star.
Oh, his combat role.
Bespin,
okay.
And from the sequels,
I just want to slide down the stairs.
Starkiller Base, Ajan Kloss, Takodana, and Jakku. And then you also have other planets from the in-between periods, such as Kessel from Solo, Scarif from Rogue One, but also for the Starfighter mode, there's Ryloth, Unknown Regions, Dakar, and Fondor.
So many maps.
There's also campaign-exclusive planets like Pilio, Vardos, Sullus, and Athula. So yeah, safe to say there is a lot here, and there's something for everyone. I still to this day am extremely impressed by the details of these maps. Yes, they are kind of just the area for the conflict, but if you stop and take a look around...
Sorry, I have alerts all turned off, guys. I appreciate all the donos and stuff, but like,
enough attention.
I know you guys are all trying to TTS, and like that's why I turn it off so it doesn't talk over the video. I'm sorry. I'll go through it in a minute.
This game is phenomenal. These maps are amongst the most immersive Star Wars environments I've seen yet. Change your view to first person and slowly walk around these maps and just take it all in. You won't be disappointed. Whether it's the rainy storms of Camino to the
it honestly looks gorgeous for a 2017 game
and vibrant. It's honestly really impressive. But let's move on to the gameplay and progression. So as stated earlier in the video, DICE had to essentially rebuild the progression system, ditching the pay-to-win loot box mechanics and ridiculous grinds. Trading all that in for a skill point system, which is used by leveling up characters to upgrade their.
So am I going to be able to actually play all this stuff today, or is like some stuff going to be like gated, like Heroes?
It's the good type of grind. You can try various star card combinations, which genuinely do affect the hero and can accommodate your playstyle. And the same goes for reinforcement classes and basic infantry classes.
You can do everything. Okay, like I just won't be OP. Like I won't have like all the bonuses probably.
Edge, but first person is great for sniping, and as I touched on earlier,
yeah, that looks sick.
Way more immersive.
Dude, I know technically it's all like same companies and stuff, but this literally looks like Battlefield.
Now, heroes and reinforcements,
like that first person view literally looks like Battlefield with Star Wars.
Each of them play different enough for it to
maybe I'm crazy.
Death Troopers,
but that's how it feels to me.
From Ewoks, there's strong variety.
Wait, who's that? A little guy with an archer? Wait, that's sick. I want to do that.
Like the reinforcement side of this game is like a whole other game in of itself. And DICE did a great job pulling from outside the main line.
Wait, that was an Ewok? Wait, I thought Ewoks were big.
Game, and they certainly don't disappoint, and they add a lot to the gameplay. Now, the gameplay of Battlefront 2 in general is fairly
You're officially going to be a shiny today?
Suits this game well.
I don't like the way that sounds.
Shooter, which I think is exactly what a game like this needs. We're not really here playing Battlefront 2 for top-of-the-line core gameplay mechanics. It just has to be good enough for it to be fun so we can enjoy these worlds with the characters we love. And Battlefront 2 more than delivers on that front, and it's a major reason as to why this game became so beloved. So although the multiplayer
Shiny or new
is about
clones?
what you expect from a game that's
okay.
been abandoned for 4 years,
I was thinking like
there's still a
Pokemon, how
ton
you
of
hunt
fun to be had.
shinies.
And with no
like,
sequel on the
oh.
horizon or any form of multiplayer replacement, it looks like Battlefront 2 servers might stay active for years to come.
What was this last part? Campaign. All right, I'll let this run really quick because a lot of people say the campaign's
campaign
ass.
For Battlefront 2 has always been something that was kind of a thing when the game came out, but then nobody really talked about it again. Personally, that checks out, as I played the campaign when the game came out in 2017, and I hadn't played it again until this video. The Battlefront 2 campaign centered around an Imperial Special Forces squad called Inferno Squad, led by our main character Iden Versio, as well as Del Meeko and Gideon Hask. It ran alongside Return of the Jedi, specifically the Battle of Endor, and post Return of the Jedi, and then
totally
led up
understand
to
that.
just before The Force
No,
Awakens. Now, although the campaign was a highly anticipated aspect of Battlefront 2 when it was being marketed, the campaign is extremely short. It took me just over 5 hours to finish, which included the Resurrection DLC, which I believe was added after the launch of the game. So it's not a long story by any stretch of the imagination, nor is it inherently profound. And you guys know I love diving stupidly deep into the single player stories on this channel, but unfortunately, what you get in this campaign, you really can't do that. Now, not to say this campaign doesn't have its moments, there are some really fun characters here, and it does get surprisingly good in some areas. When we're playing through the perspective of Imperial Special Force members, we're on the side of the bad guys, and there are times where the story does let us know that these people aren't just mindless Imperial drones. They're well aware of the flaws of the Empire and question the fight themselves. So although some of these moments, like the one with Del and Luke, I would consider to be really good, unfortunately, Iden's turn from Imperial Special Forces member to Rebellion fighter is not only predictable, but abrupt to the point where it makes you question the entire story. Due to the fact this campaign is extremely short, you only get a brief period of time where you're
I was probably not going to play the
playing from
campaign anyways,
perspective
Chad.
of the
I'm
Empire.
completely
And
honest
it's
with you,
these
so
moments where
I'm
the
fine with
campaign
this.
is at its best. When we're fighting the rebels on Endor and look into the sky to see the second Death Star's destruction. Seeing how the Imperials were dealing with that at the time is honestly fascinating, and this is why telling a story from the point of view of the Imperials is great.
Although that was definitely a big spoiler right there. I did not know that was a thing. The second Death Star, that kind of sucks a little bit, but that's okay.
2 hours of the campaign, and we're now on the side of the rebels, and now it's just a generic story that.
All right, I'm gonna stop there just for my own movie experience in the future. But that was actually a really good video. I'm glad I watched that. I'm gonna stop there for my own sake. Yeah, that's tough. Yeah. Whoops.